So welcome to this session with Stephane Baillie-Gee, where we will focus on system thinking and complex management theory. Hello, Stephane. How are you?
I'm fine. Thank you very much, Julie, and thanks for having me today.
We are so happy to be here to discuss a series of articles that you published on LinkedIn. And I'm wondering, what could you recommend our organizations do and focus on, especially at the moment?
We have been focusing on the same things for, let's say, hundreds of years. I'm not going to go any further than that. But for hundreds of years, we were focusing on the health and the wealth of the organization, any kind of wealth of the organization and the people that compose it. It could be a private organization, it can be a public organization, it can be a country, it can be an international organization, but that's where the buck stopped. Because our value systems that we learned over time were based on success, okay? And this notion of success is also like, at first it could be like survival, being able to survive. But then over time, it was about like gathering more resources. And then over time, it became like, if you want to be successful, you need to follow the rules of the organization, whatever that is again. And then over time, that created a lot of prosperity for people. And now what we see, and actually the ecological uh, thought process, ecologic thinking started bringing that into the scope, saying, hey, you guys, this is really nice, you're making tons of good stuff, but at the same time, you're destroying the planet. Okay. And this is a huge cognitive problem. So really the focus is, okay, it needs to be good for me, because we don't want to be left in the picture. We need to take care of ourselves. And this is also important, because what we see also is that it needs to be good also for the organization, okay? But then if you look at the organization, so many people, if you look at all the burnouts happening, it means that people are forgetting themselves in the interest of the organization. And that's not good either, okay? And then you have the planet, all right? So if we are helping organizations do more of the same thing and expect a different result, we all know that it's a definition of insanity.
You encourage people and organization to ask questions.
Yes, a lot of questions. And is this good? Okay, that's the first thing. Is this good everywhere? Because if it's not good, then something else needs to happen. Okay? One other aspect I would say, and that's also been covered quite a lot lately, it's the notion of symmetry. It is not because you're at the bottom of the organization that your voice cannot be heard. Actually, it needs to be heard even more so. So that kind of turns upside down the notion of structures of organization nowadays, where the top decides for the bottom. But actually nowadays, it's all the voices coming from the bottom of the organization that are actually going to inform the top of the organization. But at some point, this notion of symmetry should make people feel empowered.
You mentioned also that we need to generate more information, that there's a necessity. Of course, when we listen more to our systems, that's what's happening, right? You get more information. But as a consequence, a lot of people, they feel overwhelmed. And there's this perception of, chaos almost. But I wonder, is it a good sign actually to be in a chaos?
So my point was, okay, you have this system. I mean, like this overall global human system, which is kind of going like this. Okay,
Mhm.
it is manifested by two things. The problems are going up exponentially. Pollution, climate, destruction of the environment, of species, people not happy, not going well, even though there is more wealth and so on. Uh, all those numbers are going like this. I mean, the numbers of phones, of data that is fabricated, all of that is going like this, exponential. Okay, and now you have the solutions that are being brought, and they come at a linear rate. So every day you get an increased gap between the two. So what do we do with this? That is definitely the expression of a system that's not going well. Okay, so you have that system which is kind of going that way, and as I said earlier, as you mentioned earlier, sorry, there is all this information which is being produced. I mean, from AI, from anything you want, big data and so on. There is so much information that at some point it becomes totally meaningless. It becomes even more so meaningless that this system is based on mindsets where the information is gathered and then it goes somewhere. Some people look at it and then some other people make decisions based on that, and then it goes back down. And by the time they're working on doing something, they're actually fixing a problem that was happening 3 months ago or 6 months ago, but they're not dealing with the present of the problem. Okay, that's one thing. So that's what we have here. Now you could look at it from another perspective. Outside of that system, you have also another system which is kind of emerging. Okay, and you could think of this as, we see this every season. There is a plant that's dying. But where it was, there is another one which already started to grow. So we have this kind of double loop. Okay, and it's called like this actually. And this double loop, in the bottom loop, you have people that are kind of they're really working on working for the future. Okay, except that knowing that those people, again, they've been there for maybe sometimes decades, doing great stuff in education, in economy, in agriculture, in any area. Okay, but those people, you don't see them and you don't talk about them. And when we talk about them, people that are in this system tend to discount them for the simple reason that they're not called Google or Apple or anything like this. Because actually it's George who lives at the corner of the street who's doing something great for kids, And it's the millions of Georges doing something at the corner of the street, so that kids can learn something after school. They're actually creating this world of the future. So we have, this is where we are now, We have this thing which is occupying most of our attention. I mean, it's there, it's around us.
If we want to change, let's say I'm a creative mind and I want to impact my organization, where should I sit?
Okay. First of all, the reality is that we are inside of the system, whether we want it or not. Okay. I can be George at the corner of the street helping kids, after school. Still, I need to pay my taxes and I need to do a lot of things that are connected to the society we live in. And that's really okay. All right. So we must not pretend that, okay, there is like another world, where we could live in a dream, because the dream is not happening that way. Okay. Now, the people that, if I take this guy, George, what I was mentioning just a minute ago, okay? This guy is busy, all right? He's doing his thing.
Let's take a woman for a change. Let's take a woman.
Yes!
Let's take a woman.
Okay, Lucy. Okay, let's take Lucy, all right? So Lucy is very busy, okay? And she's doing all those great things. And actually, of course, this is not gender biased at all, okay? I'm sorry, I didn't mean to do that, okay? All right. But anyway, what happens is that between those two curves, those two loops, there are some people that are actually creating the passerelles, the connection between the two. They are able to talk to the existing system, about what is going on in the emerging system. You could call this illuminating, if you wish. Okay, and we can now is the time where we can start really illuminating stuff, because there is some real stuff that's happening. Okay, and that stuff that's happening may be scary for the people that are inside of the existing system, even though there's nothing to be scared about, because actually that's where the solution is. Okay?
How would you make this competence collective?
Okay, we need to connect with each other. And that's kind of the big challenge actually for emerging organizations is that sometimes they're not so connected. Okay, whereas the existing system is totally connected. Okay, so it makes it stronger because you have a very tight knit network that is trying to keep on doing what it has been doing. So it has a very strong momentum. And the people in emerging systems are not so connected. So they need to be
Mhm.
connected more. And I would say that, for
So,
instance, yes, go ahead, sorry.
no, here I was thinking about, the need to for resilient and maybe looking forward communities.
Yeah, anything works actually. There's no the book has not been written, because if it was written, we wouldn't be talking, all right? But we all need because that's the thing also about complex situations. There is so many interconnections between all the elements, between all the agents in the system that you cannot foresee what's going to happen. But that's good for the whole thing. And this is actually what is taking the existing system down the drain is that, as I said earlier, most of the time it's trying to fix stuff that happened before, but is not able to deal with the reality, especially knowing that this reality is full of what we call wicked problems. I mean, it's very complex problems for which there is basically no solution, but there is a way to move forward and beyond that. Okay, and it's also full of what we call black swans. Black swans. That's Nicolas Nassim Taleb who talks about that, which are events that you couldn't see coming until they're there. And then you explain them ad lib, because that's what people do. Nobody saw, I mean, very, very, very few people, so we could say nobody saw coming, the subprime crisis coming. Nobody saw the Twin Towers going down coming. But afterwards, so many people were able to talk about it. But all of that, it's meaningless. We don't need that. I mean, this is meaningless conversation. What we need to do is to build this anti-fragile approach, meaning like we have a system that is functioning in a way where it can work with whatever is happening to it and actually come out stronger and not more how do you say that, stuck, much more rigid. And that's what we're doing now. We're
Mhm.
rigidifying everything. I mean, we're rigidifying in airports, we're rigidifying all over the place, with COVID and so on. I said the word, okay? We're rigidifying all over the place, okay? Whereas actually we should have much more agility and adaptability, which means big structures cannot do it. And I'm not saying that big structures shouldn't keep on existing. I'm just saying big structures, the way they're set up right now, cannot do it. And we see it every day also.
Mhm. Yeah, I see we keep coming back to my favorite topic, which is communities. In a way, you send me a sort of science. Talk about it. So because I understood you want connection. We need connection. We need smaller entities that will be more agile and forward looking in a way to prepare better.
Now, uh, healthy communities follow a certain set of rules. The first rule, I think, which is very important and also shows why the existing system is not going well. It's the dream. Why are we together? Okay, that's something that we study, for instance, when you do systemic coaching. What is the dream that is bringing us together? I mean, you can think about it in a team, you can think about it in a couple, and that dream needs to be revisited regularly. So what happens in this system, which is going down the drain, is that the dream is lost. It's lost because
Mhm.
people are too busy working on stuff which has nothing to do with sustaining the dream, but just some stuff which has to be done because somebody said so. Okay? So healthy communities have a common dream and they know they have it and they can talk about it and they can revisit it. That's the first thing. It's really like the founding stone, the founding, the foundation of the whole thing. The next thing is to have healthy communication. And by this, I mean being able to use what we call critical thinking. Okay? Critical thinking, you can define it in many ways, but in a very small nutshell, I would say, okay, I have an idea, I have an opinion, but let's see what the system says. And then maybe I can let go of my opinion. And being right or wrong, I don't care. You know, I don't care. I don't put my ego into my thing. I'm not trying to make the system confirm what I thought. I'm just trying to get the system to say what it needs to say. And that's another aspect also connected to critical thinking, is that as a community, we listen to what the system is saying. Our community system, what is it saying? What does it want? Okay? And then there is another aspect to this also. It's like, what are the other systems around us that are we connected with? What are they saying? Not just the people, but what is the system saying? Because when you ask yourself this question, you get something very interesting. If you look at the system I was just describing, not not just the people or the organization, but the system as a whole, what is it saying?
And what do you think about faith?
About faith?
Yeah, not
Well,
necessarily related to religion, but the impact of faith to allow dream.
well, um, behind every dream there is a tremendous reservoir of faith, you know, which is untapped, basically, as long as you don't look for this, you know, as long as you don't honor it. And if you don't honor it long enough, it's going to go away. And that's when you get the low energy you were just mentioning, you know. So yes, definitely. I mean, I wouldn't say the things I'm telling you right now if I didn't have the faith that it can manifest in some ways, you know. I would have a totally different discourse, you know. I would say yes, this is very interesting situation and so on, but it wouldn't take anywhere, you know. My heart wouldn't be in it, okay? And then when you talk to people that are stuck in there, wherever they are, you know, again, you know, the system is also speaking about that with the lower energy, you know.
Mm.
And I would add one thing about this, because also something about those healthy communities is that people listen to their intuition, okay? And then if you look at this from the perspective of the existing system, the system that's in place, it's very scary. You know, how can you listen to intuition? We got so many Excel sheets and so many data we can work with. You know, what's the point of this? Well, the intuition connects our mental abilities with our heart, and our heart is full of good stuff, except that we learn not to listen to it. I mean, years ago, I used to give creativity classes in business schools, you know, for MBAs, you know, and you know, they were always scared because I was showing them the curve, you know, of creativity, which is like maximum when you're like 3, 4 years old, you know, and the guys that were the lowest on the scale were the MBAs. Okay, so the
Yes, of
creativity,
course.
the heart, the faith, and all that, it's all connected.
To work with. So, what would be a message that you want to send to EU staff?
Um, remember the dream. Remember the dream that was there like 60 years ago, 70 years ago. Remember that dream. Honor it. And don't fall prey to all the stuff that's around you that's keeping you busy and disconnecting you actually from your power.